Hello, welcome to my show. Lots of things going on. I'll start from the beginning. Don't forget, at the end of the day, when we go through all this Revolutionary War things we're going through, this is almost a replay of the revolution, but a more sinister type opponent. It is a hive mind, a beehive mind. In Star Trek, you remember the first TV series, or it's a second, there was this cube floating through space, and I forget what you call them. I shouldn't use this one. But anyway, they're all like hive-minded entities. And they kept reporting back to the Queen Bee type operation. That's what we're fighting. The evil is not an individual. That's why I brought up cowboy hats yesterday. Cowboy hats are the other side of the scale of individuality. You are saying, I think differently, respect my views. And there's all sorts of other powers behind it. And it's why you go to a lot of western towns in the west of the United States, you don't see cowboy hats anymore. They just sort of disappeared. And that's because the hive mind people, moral relativists, the nihilists, like Bolsheviks, they all moved in. And they took over the newspapers, they took over the culture, and they brought in Starbucks and things like that. And it's really bizarre, the philosophy they hold. And they pushed out the cowboy hats. That's what happened. So typically in the western towns, you'll get the city limits are no cowboy hats, and then you get outside it and you got free thinkers. And so that's very interesting. I wanted to say, so the hive mind, they're not creative, this group. They're cut off, and they do everything. They attack. They continually attack. And what Sarah Sanders and Trump's administration on the top level, they're being stalked, and it's called stalking, and you can read about it. And they do that in these towns all over America. It's been going on. It's been going on for a long, long time. And if you ever experience it, you almost have to move or find a creative way to handle it. But the hive mind people, the hive rewards them for this activity. And it's very complex. What I'm getting to is they're all disappearing. It's now different religions and different groups have different terms for this. For, like they say, ascension. We're going to ascension to a higher vibration. And some of the Christian groups will say, well, we're going to be chosen by God, and all the dead weight people will be left behind. And there's many more. There's many more. Basically, it follows. It's going to be their timelines here, and the timelines will bifurcate. And I think you heard me say it before, but my dowsing said it wasn't quite true. That Trump's election was actually a break in the timeline. We're going to go off. We could have gone the Hillary route. It would have been awful. Yeah, I just get war. We would be in a depression for the economy right now. So a lot of significant things have changed. And our enemies are really, really big. Well, that's what makes us strong. To recognize who our enemy is. That's the hard part. We didn't know we were at war. But the other side, the hive mind group, they said we're at war. With who? With who? And that's why there's actually a cultural alliance going around of the free thinkers, the Christians, and everyone else. I mean, you can kind of see it. It's not like an alliance set down on a piece of paper. It's kind of like, we got to protect the Constitution because that's how we're going to live successfully and at peace. This other group, the Bolsheviks, and they're coming out now. We already saw it. We saw this a year ago. We saw it at Christmas. Remember, we doused it. A civil war is coming, and it's going to get cranked up more. These are all controlled attacks. these random shootings are all much more controlled than you think. And it's hard to tell. And I got people in my own life, you can't talk about these issues or they come unglued. And it's so polarized that it's going to take a while for a chunk of that group to change. And I think they will. Dowsing shows that. What percent of the other group, I'm going to call them, will change? I mean, let's call them Democrats. Let's just say those who believe the CNN line, Democrats. What percent will be flipped in the next year as a freedom fighter? Okay? Am I connected? Yes, no? Yes, no? No. Nah. Okay, there's a yes. Yeah, kind of jerks around. Okay, please. Thank you. Could you answer that question? I have 1 through 100. 1 through 100. What percent will be flipped? Oh, okay. A lot of them will be. I would say almost 2/3. Let's say 2/3. See that? That's about 2/3. 2/3. So there's going to be a change. And more, it's not like necessarily they'll be Trump supporters, but they're going to be more open to recognizing the violence of the Democrats, which CNN supports and MSNBC. You know, I can tell this on the internet. I see their videos. I can see what they're talking about. So that's all going to change. But the more important change is we have to get above 1.1 on my scale. And I should, I've been remiss because I should label these. In my head I know what a 1 is, or a 2, or a 5 consciousness is. But to move on to the higher, as the planet frequency goes up, we're going to, the souls that don't vibrate at a higher frequency, above 1, will not be able to continue on. Alright? They'll be, like some Christian groups say, left behind. Or they're not going to make the ascension. Or goes on and on and on. But essentially, it's going to be done by vibration. So the higher vibration you are, you're going to get on a different timeline. Right? And there's, roughly speaking, there's 3. Alright? And I don't want to go into it so much because where we are in the scheme of things, when the timelines break up, I think is an issue. And we're going to start new communities, new ways of thinking, and it's going to be a start. And as it goes on, we're going to get more of the Shangri-La type culture. We're not going to get it. It's not going to be in my lifetime. And I might be around for a while on a certain timeline, and on another one they're going to knock me off probably. But that's sort of where we are. So it's going to get worse, as we said. It's going to get worse through the election. Right before, I think October, November, December, they're just like going to come unglued. They're very violent people, and they're weak. Many of them are part of the hive mind. That's the problem. And they have etheric chips in them. You know, we all have etheric chips too. Well, I mean, it's kind of like who we are. Our world is very complicated beyond what we think, and we don't understand why we're overwhelmed. And it's because they've been experimenting on you. That's how they do it. And when I grew up, I don't know if I should say this or not, but part of my life is I grew up in the military. I was in the Army. I mean, as a kid. And my father had a post on the East German border during the 60s. And you were paid extra for that. It was considered a combat zone to be on the East German border. This is when the Vietnam War was going on. They considered that. And anyways, as a kid, I was 7 years old, 8 years old. I had dog tags. We had dog tags. I didn't wear them. We had them in a box in the house. But the idea is, even as kids, we were property of the government, and legally they could do anything they want to the kids. And it wasn't until like 5 or 6 years ago that they say, okay, the children of military personnel are no longer considered property of the U.S. government. Well, that was nice, wasn't it? And that's why you see a lot of military kids, they're kind of messed up. It's because they were experimenting on them. So know that. And they suspect it. A lot of them remember. A lot of them have had, you know, their dream recall what happened to them when they were children. And certain bases had more experiments going on. But it's really, it's hard to realize that we're wrapped up in this physical world, the CNN world, and yet the real battle is the spiritual world on the other side of the veil. And that impacts us all the time. And sort of like, it's easy to forget that. It's easy to forget we're just the tip of the iceberg, our conscious mind here. We're just like that much, and the iceberg below is huge. And that's where all the activity is going on. And that's why prayer and meditation, and even you going out, walking in the woods, sitting by a stream and just spacing out, those are necessary to reconnect to the totality of who you are. And it's very simple. You don't even have to go home and say I had a vision or anything. It's just the experience of turning down the volume a little bit and not get rattled. You know, so if things are going wrong, just step back, because this is a big battle. It's just not about you. Everyone is experiencing it, these things. And in the next 6 months, it's going to get really heated up. And I saw violence, I guess. I guess we're going to get some more violence. And because they can see they're losing the support of the people more and more and more. And as you remember 2 years ago, I said the Democratic Party in reality only has about 25% support. It's only through fraud that they can get into the high 40s and over 50%. All their whole philosophy is bogus. I'm not, and the other flip side of that is the old Republican Party, who were part of the same cabal as the Democrats. And that's why nothing got done. That's why we got into all these wars. It's like they had both sides of the aisle. So politically, things are changing. We can visually see it. There's still going to be voter fraud, and we measured that. But it's going to be less, and it's going to make a big difference. I think the Republicans will barely get a few more seats in both houses. That's what's going to happen. They should get a lot more. And I'm talking the populist Republicans, all right? So that's just a manifestation of how the culture is changing. And the culture is turning against Hollywood. It is turning against the banks. It is turning against Wall Street, you know, charging you $35 because you don't have 25 cents in your bank account. You know, you're 25 cents short or something. Doing all these everything you buy at Walmart doesn't work. It breaks. All the washing machines and stuff. In general, you get the drift. You know, it's designed that way. That's how the Luciferian consciousness works. It's just suffering. And with Putin and Trump meeting, well, it's going to be a great meeting. But it probably won't be reported that way. But they're going to seal the deal. What needs to be done. And they have access to information that what I'm telling you, they have that access. They have access to the information that prayers for the people work. It's the glue that holds the country together. Since Putin came to power, he built or rebuilt 10,000 cathedrals in Russia. He knows that's the glue that holds it together. It's not perfect. He goes and he's saying, yes, I am Russian Orthodox, and he's using it as a glue. He knows the spiritual realm is much greater than that. But at a minimum, he's taking it from a atheist, Lucifer type culture, which the Soviet Union was. I mean, what a burden to show the world it didn't work. That's what the Russian people did. They showed communism, and it goes, look at all the suffering it creates. Don't go this way. That's what it was saying. And they spiritually, that country, that soul took on this job. And people are throwing numbers around like 60 million killed, 80 million killed. And it goes, well, what are you counting? Sort of thing. It was, the wars were horrific. And the wars, World War II and World War I were just, we can go into that later, but they're really designer wars. And you probably can't talk about it right now in our culture. You could not tell anyone what these wars was about. We're going to have to wait a couple years, because we're going to have to look at this information, our history, with compassion. We're going to have a spiritual understanding so we don't get angry and say, let's go out and lynch these people. Because you're going to be really angry when we found out what caused a civil war. What was it really about? What was World War I about? You can't tell me. No one can tell me what World War I is about. It doesn't make any sense at all, even today. You go through, they go, this is not enough for a war. What is going on? There are big forces behind the scenes keeping these wars going. And then World War II, the Korean War, and you're going like, what is going on here? What is a war every... and the one thing I can say, sacrifice is an important variable. I'll say that much. But we're going to have to see this in a very compassionate way. And that compassion frees us. It's a really... But right now, if they told everybody the truth about what's going on, what has going on, I think people would be so stunned they couldn't function. They would just be sitting there on the couch, staring at the white screen, not knowing what to do. Because the programming will break down so much. The programming will break down. The Luciferian programming. And that's what we're going to be coming about. And as everybody's energy, you either go with the flow and go with the energy flow up, or you're going to go sit in front of the TV with the white screen and looking at the fog, because your programming, there's a bug in the system and you just can't operate anymore. And you actually need a reboot. You need to be rebooted. And that's the power of these higher prayers. That's why I push the prayers. Go out and find some. Go, create your own. But as I said, words make a difference who you're calling in. And it helps to call them in to give an extra charge to the prayer. And it's also focusing your consciousness throughout the day. Even though you're not praying, but you're whatever you do throughout the day, your task of the day, it'll put you at a little bit higher level. You're going to see the big picture constantly, and you're not going to be so emotionally attached. And that brings us to where we are in the economy and things of that nature. And right now, I have to say this. Everything they're reporting is false. So I don't know what to say. All of the government statistics are false. And they've been that way. And I don't know if it's not really a priority for Trump to fix that part. Like, what is the most accurate GDP? What is the... where's the gold? How much gold do we have? Watch this. This is something kind of interesting. I'm just kind of jumping around a little bit, so bear with me. So this is 10 this way, negative 10 that way, all right? And this is our benchmark, all right? This is how much gold China has. I'm looking at you. Does America have, in comparison to China, how much gold does America have? Do we have less? Should be over here. Less or more? We have a lot more. We have a lot more gold than they do. Okay, it's going. Is that the answer, please? So it's saying we have. It's kind of bouncing around. That reading said 50%. And then I had another reading. I'll do that one when I'm with the pendulum, and I think I can get a better reading. But we have a minimum, according to this, 50% more gold than China does. And I believe it's a lot more than that. It's a lot more. And I think what this dowsing was saying, it could be like 4 times more. All right? It's hidden. It's not in Fort Knox. It's around. We have, there's, did that thought I just put out, was that correct? Yes, no. Yeah. See how fast it went? Yes. So my measurement was incorrect. My measurement was only, and dowsing will do that, I can only go up to 100% more gold than China. Well, the answer is, it's not 100% more. It's 4 or 5 times as much. I'll give you that number later. I have it written down. But I think it's like, I think China is like 3,000 tons of gold, something like that, 4,000 tons. I mean, they're just accumulating. Russia is accumulating. I think Russia is less than China, but it's all the Russian gold production they keep. It stays in Russia. All their mines are going full tilt, putting gold together, and we're like at 19,000. So I'm going to go double check that number, and I'll get it to you. But we have by far the most gold, and everybody's laying claim to it behind the scenes. That's part of what's going on. Who owns the gold? Where is it? It goes, and it's not just, oh, they took it out of Fort Knox and the Rockefellers have it. It's everywhere. There's gold, and you hear these stories. To get at 19,000, there's several locations. Several entities are sitting on it. But I'll say this. All the gold that the bankers think they own, Rockefeller / Rothschild, Satan, the Illuminati, they don't own it. It's the people's gold. We can go back and get it anytime. It was on the ledger. It was put in their account. They're holding it. They think they stole it, but it belongs to the people. And when the people realize where it is, we're just going to bring it back and put it back in our ledger. This country is really, really rich. It really had lots of industrial productivity for hundreds. Your grandparents, your grandfathers, and things. Everybody added to the wealth of this nation. It didn't disappear. It's here. All right? It wasn't shipped overseas. The whole currency thing is very, very interesting. I just want to make 3 points. I think I should do something on currency later about dowsing. But you remember, you don't hear about the new currency that Obama came out with the woman Tubbard, and nice woman. She saved a handful of slaves back in the before the Civil War or whatever. I don't know, but she saved some people, and she had a little underground railroad. Like, no one knew her. No one. It's like, why didn't they put Martin Luther King there? Why did they go? They wanted a nobody. But they hide, oh, here's a black woman. See, so therefore you can't be against this currency. The thing is, the currency they were creating, it had nothing to do with the woman, the image. They changed it radically to be worthless. So, I don't know, I forget the questions I asked, but this, okay, 1 through 10, show me the vibration of the American dollar today. Let me see. Okay, it's a 5, all right? It's That's our value. And this is relative to other currencies. I measure in currencies, all right, as a group. Show me the Tubbard dollar, its frequency. Watch this. It's half a star. It's half a star. Totally worthless. What they were going to do is symbolically, by eliminating all the presidents, had nothing to do with who they were per se, but it was symbolic of making a radical change in the overall value of the currency from a 5 to a half a star, which is 0, Lucifer, so there's light on there, and they're going to make it 0 light, Luciferian currency, which is a worthless currency. That was the goal. That was prevented. I haven't heard anyone talk about Tubbard since Trump was elected. See how the timeline changed? All right? Though I'm not gonna, I shouldn't call it a timeline, but we're definitely on another trajectory in our lives than we would have been. And I think one of the biggest problems with China is it has Mao Zedong on it, who's a complete Satanist. I mean, he's like, I don't know if anybody's in there. But if they want their economy to grow, and if they want to be this superpower, they're going to have to put like Sun Yat-sen, Confucius, Buddha. They're going to have to put someone else on the currency. Anything besides Mao Zedong. Mao Zedong is on all their currency. And that's and it's keeping their economy down. People don't realize that. In the American dollar, I think it goes beyond it's the symbolism and how they print the bills. If you're not going to believe this, I can't go into it. But how they physically make the bill is involved in its value. And it was going to be a ceremony because they were going to trick everybody to say, well, look, we have this black woman on the currency. So therefore, if you're against this currency, you are a racist. Do you see how that works? It's a trick. But that's not it. They're going to give you a worthless, even compared to this dollar today, which people are complaining about, right? People think this dollar is worthless, but it's not. The new dollar was going to be totally worthless, beyond your wildest imagination. And they were going to use Tubbard as a shield. They're going to fake you out, which they do on everything right now. So that's why you can't express yourself. They're almost making the cowboy hat racist. Everything's racist. And it's not. They're just dividing us. They're just dividing. And that's all going to change. And the next 6 months is like, keep your head down, keep safe. It's going to get rough. And it's going to be interesting to see. I hope you find that interesting. The cursing thing is very interesting. And I think this meeting with Putin is going to go well. They already have everything already written out. They know all the agreements they're going to do. And I'll go further on that later. We'll do that later. All right? Thank you. Have a good day. And God bless you all. Bye-bye.